Hello out there, my ghouls and my goblins. I'm your casual crypt keeper, Taylor, and welcome back to The Fog. Today we are going to take ourselves a little trip around the world to try and find some of the weirdest, most macabre, and downright unsettling wonders of the world. Let's plan our vacation as we look at the top 5 terrifying places on Earth, scarier than hell. Now you let me know down below which of these places you would just love to visit and which of these you couldn't be paid to go to. Let's waste no more time and dive on in. Number 5. Haw Par Villa, Singapore. I love a theme park. Who doesn't? Nothing like walking around, getting to zip around on a roller coaster on a hot summer day and pay $9 for a water bottle. But after a while, all the parks start to blend together. You go down one death-defying drop, you've seen them all, and you seek newer thrills. Now that could be bigger coasters, or it could be a trip to Haw Par Villa, Singapore's infamous scary theme park where the main attractions are incredibly vivid, detailed statues depicting the punishment of crimes and what it's like to go to hell. Initially built in the 30s to be a fun place to teach children about Buddhist, Confucian, and Taoist mythology, it was abandoned during the Second World War when Japanese forces used it as a vantage point to spot incoming ships. It would get rebuilt during the 80s, where it now became the slightly more than unnerving warning about behaving that it is today. Now the main attraction here isn't Space Mountain or Behemoth, but rather the 10 Courts of Hell, a giant exhibition showing all these little statues being gruesomely punished for their sins in the mortal world to warn children to behave. Thieves and gamblers are frozen in blocks of ice, people who cheat are cursed, are thrown onto a tree of knives. Basically any scary way you could be punished for doing something bad is depicted here. A lot of it I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to mention under YouTube's guidelines. There's a pretty fun monster named Hufashize who is shown carrying out the punishments to the helpless little statues that inhabit the park. He's almost like a mascot. Now, for what it's worth, there are some other dioramas and statuettes in the park, and they're not all people getting thrown into spike pits. There's some depictions of some Singapore folk tales and some old myths and stuff, but the 10 Pits of Hell is the real attraction here. I think what this place really needs though is just like one water slide or something, or a roller coaster. Doesn't even have to be a big one, just something to mix up the thrills a little bit. And if you're looking for more thrills and don't want to leave the comfort of your home, I totally get it, because all the thrills are here on Top 5 Scary. We've got just about everything scary or freaky under the sun, anything you can think of, cryptids, aliens, true crime, conspiracies, fake crime, we've got all of it and more. So click on through, subscribe, stay scared, but stay watching this video, okay? We worked hard on it. Number 4. The Door to Hell, Derwez, Turkmenistan. Coming in at our next entry is all the way in Turkmenistan, Derwez, referred colloquially as the Door to Hell. So, that's kind of the vibe we're going for here. This unintentionally terrifying tourist destination is a collapsed natural gas field that's been perpetually burning for the last 50 years, and whoa, does it make quite a postcard. They say the candle that burns twice as bright lasts half as long, but this thing is burning pretty bright, and it's been burning for a sincerely long time, so who's to say how accurate that aphorism is? The exact origins of the Door to Hell are unknown, as the area is a bit remote and nobody really knows when it started. To quote the philosopher William Joel, it's always been burning since the world was turning. Now there have been some attempts to extinguish this mighty flame, but it is a little more difficult than just tossing a bucket of water over it, as the toxic fumes gushing out of it make it difficult to even get close to it, and that's before talking about just how incredibly hot a giant pit of burning fire and gas is. Only one person has ever descended inside the pit, and he needed to be equipped with a heat-resistant suit as well as a Kevlar harness. He wasn't just going in there. Interestingly, on this expedition, he discovered that there were microbial life forms existing down inside the pit, which could be proof of some tiny little demons. Now, I'll leave you with this one last fun little tidbit about the crater. Many first-hand accounts of visitors, campers, and tourists to the pit have reported that they have seen hordes of spiders en masse sacrificing themselves into the crater, all walking in and burning alive instantly. Now, it's definitely possible that the spiders are just drawn to the bright light in the middle of an otherwise fairly dark desert, but when a mass of spiders are all sacrificing themselves ritualistically into a giant pit of fire called the Gates of Hell, I'm not really sure how much scientific explanations mean to me anymore. Anyway, I just thought you'd enjoy that mental image, and I thought you'd enjoy never sleeping again thinking about that. Number 3. The Capuchin Catacombs, Palermo, Italy. Our next entry is going to take us to Sicily, a beautiful beautiful city, famous for its cathedrals, its beaches, incredible cuisine, and one of the scariest places on Earth with the Capuchin Catacombs. Hey, just a heads up, by the way, I know these are all pretty freaky, but this one's actually pretty freaky to look at, so don't say I didn't warn you none. From the outside, the Capuchin Monastery looks like any other big old church building, but on the inside, you can descend into the catacombs and wander through the hallowed halls where the walls are decked and the benches are posed, and tucked into open coffins are the bodies of roughly 8,000 people. Now, as you can see, they have a slightly different idea of respect for their dead. We, tend to bury them. Here, they nail them to the walls. The corpses are dressed to their best, since, gotta look good. You don't know who could see. These dark catacombs are separated into a few different sections, each corresponding to the type of people that they were in life. Religious figures go in one room, doctors and professionals in another. There's a room for women. There's a room for infants. The corpses go back a while. It's like a whole museum of bodies in there, with the longest staying guest being that of a friar from the 16th century. Imagine the smell. The unique, dry atmosphere of the catacombs allow for the mummification process to work just wonders, with some of the corpses being referred to as sleeping beauties, which, I don't know, too dark, even for me. The process of the mummification is pretty horrifying, so obviously I'm gonna tell you. Priests would lay the bodies on shelves, and I just ate, I'm sorry. They would let the body drip until they were completely drained of all fluids. A year later, they would be rinsed with vinegar. Oh my god, I don't know why vinegar was grosser. They'd be dressed in their best clothing and kept for all eternity. Now, the catacombs are a popular tourist destination now, if not an unusual one. Definitely, I think, any personal bias aside, you can agree it's an interesting place to go. I'm probably good, though. I feel like I can smell that room from here, and I am not interested in getting any closer. Number 2, the Sedlec Ossuary, Czech Republic. Well, our last entry was about a church building decorated with the remains of the dead, so I thought maybe I'd mix it up just a little bit with our next entry and do another church building decorated with body parts. Welcome to the Sedlec Ossuary in the Czech Republic, and hey, how often do you get to use ossuary in a sentence? Today is a great day for me. Most people know the ossuary by its colloquial nickname, the Bone Church, and it's hard to disagree with that, even if that does sound like it's an area from one of the Dark Souls games. This place looks like it was interior designed by Leatherface with an infinite budget. The centerpiece and magnum opus of the church is a haunting bone chandelier composed of almost every bone in the human body. Now, that would be more than enough to be one of the scariest places on Earth, but that is literally just the beginning. Let's run through it. You've got 2 bone chalices, 4 bone candelabras, 6 bone pyramids, a bone family crest, skull candle holders, and a skeleton partridge in a bone pear tree. There's bones wrapped and decorating all across the church like the world's worst Christmas decorations. They got bone streamers pretty much like a scary birthday party. So how did this happen? Did they just let a local lunatic decorate the place? Well, way back when the ossuary was the abbot of the Sedlec Monastery, this holy soil was a very appealing gravesite for people and religious figures, and just about everybody wanted to get their bones buried here. The problem therein is that when way too many people all want to be stored and buried in the same place, eventually things start to pile up and you got nowhere to put the bones. So, in the 18th century, a woodcarver was tasked with finding a solution to this grim problem, and he came up with the wonderfully terrifying idea of turning them into art. God bless our creative fellows. He bleached all of the bones to make sure they looked gorgeous and uniform, and in the scariest of ways, I kind of agree. It's beautiful in a horrifying sense. Number 1, Centralia, Pennsylvania. I think the best horror movies and properties are based on real things. I think the Overlook Hotel from The Shining is based on the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, Conjuring and Annabelle based on Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously, Leatherface based on Ed Gein, and the town of Silent Hill from the Silent Hill movies was based on Centralia, Pennsylvania, where an infamous coal mine fire abandoned the town, leaving only fog and a rain of ash over the deserted streets. In 1962, a fire started in a landfill and spread to the coal tunnels that lay deep beneath, thousands of feet below the surface of the town. Rescue crews tried their level best to put out the raging flame, but despite their best efforts, the flame caught a coal seam where it now started raging burning, where it's still doing that to this day. The town was was abandoned under government orders, and a never-ending rain of ash gave off the impression of a horrifying abandoned resort town now made famous by Silent Hill. Now it's worth noting, and I'm only including this because I'm like a Silent Hill lunatic fan, this is just the depiction in the films. The original video game series Silent Hill is just a scary town. It's not based on this one. The thing it actually takes the most inspiration from, and I swear this is real, is Kindergarten Cop. Please look this up after this video. The school in Silent Hill is the school from Kindergarten Cop. Anyway, Centralia now is effectively erased. The Pennsylvania government removed its zip codes, encouraged everybody to get the heck out of Dodge, and took all the official government property and all the names off the signs and stuff off. But few residents could not be deterred and still remain in the ghost town, with some reports saying that 6 people are still living there, clinging to the life that they had stolen from them by disaster and left forgotten by their own government. Even Hollywood actually no longer films movies there. The last couple of productions that tried said that the graffiti and desolation of the town has made it look too realistic as a ghost town to be used to film in. So if you ever happen to be passing through Centralia, just be nice, okay? They have been through a lot. And my ghouls and goblins, that's about all she wrote for this one. It was a pleasure as always. You keep on creeping on now, and I'll see you in the next one, provided my bones are not made into decorations for a church. Take it easy. Number 3? Yeah, number 3. Number 3!